The People's National Party unveiled its manifesto. PNP President Mark Golding says his team has the momentum leading into the general election. Mr. Golding says the party has been working long before the election date was announced and that the document is designed for every Jamaican to understand. Our reporter Akeem Orit has more.
Since the People's National Party PNP made public its plans for Jamaica if elected to form the next government, PNP President Mark Golding says the party has been in action well before the official election call.
We have the momentum. We've been on the ground for months all over Jamaica. We have been speaking to the people about our plans. Apparently some people out there are not hearing, but others who are listening are hearing, and we've launched our manifesto last night, and we're continuing to cover the ground, and we're going to run through the tape until we form government.
Golding says the manifesto has been simplified so that Jamaicans from all walks of life can easily grasp the proposals.
So we've done a patois version of our manifesto, for example. First time a manifesto has been released in the Jamaican language, and I'm very proud of that. And you know, the individual items that would be of relevance to particular groups, we plan to break out those ideas and let them understand them directly so they get a good feel for what we're offering.
With the campaign trail heating up, all eyes are now on how both parties will sell their plans in the weeks ahead. Akeem Oret, CVM News.
Rastafarian and Maroons as part of a representative Senate. They're often excluded or they choose to exclude themselves. The views expressed by opposition spokesman on education Senator Damian Crawford last evening on CVM's lead story. Mr. Crawford said the aim of the PNP's manifesto is to promote oneness in society as Rastafarians are part of Jamaica's culture.
And that's the first hurdle of democracy. The first hurdle of democracy is to understand the opinion of the other individual, to give them that seat at the table, and then to come to some analysis and conclusion based on the facts that they have presented.
Meanwhile, Mr. Crawford added that children should have a right to express their Africanness through their hairstyles, and so a measure will be put in place where students won't be locked out of schools for their hair.
90% of our population are African, and so to that extent we will put a full ban on that type of what we call segregation, or that we will call against persons who have that type of African representation. Of course, myself and the principals and others will need to ensure that we define properly what is acceptable as far as representation of Africanness, but the general ban on anything that seems African would have to be removed and immediately banished from our society and our decision making.
The Jamaica Debates Commission is switching up the playbook for this year's political debates with changes designed to better connect candidates and voters. Now, while the dates for the showdown are yet to be finalized, issues to be addressed are being voiced by the electorate. The general election debate on leadership back in 2020.
The Prime Minister's approach to this matter reflects an arrogance and disregard of the role of the courts, which is quite frankly unbecoming.
Tell Papa Tax Phillips that me poor, but me no fool.
Fast forward 5 years later, Jamaica Labour Party leader Dr. Andrew Holness is gearing up for a similar showdown, this time against Mark Golding. The Jamaica Debates Commission, JDC, says both the JLP and the People's National Party, PNP, have agreed to participate in 3 debates ahead of the September 3 general election. And as the stage is being set, some electors are already weighing in on the issues they want front and center.
Is the housing crisis that we are facing, right? That's a major one. Housing needs to be more accessible to young professionals. Yeah, the government needs to help the kids them with autism. We don't really see the help what them giving us. It's really hard.
The road in the small corners, Vineyard Town, Franklin Town, Windward Road, all of those places need to get fixed. You leave 25 years, you come back, nothing changed. The poor people need more houses, water. The roads are very bad. We live here like about 31 years and the roads need to fix. I don't know if because election time now they're talking a lot of crap, but they should have done this a long time ago. So the road needs to be fixed.
Food is very expensive right now, so put some policies in place so that food can be easily accessible, for anyone. This doesn't matter what your income is, something as basic as that. I want to hear those discussion, those things being discussed at these debates.
These debates, however, are still in the planning stages. The JDC says it has proposed possible dates for the debates to both political parties. The PNP has already responded, and the Commission is awaiting a reply from the JLP. But there are key changes to this year's debates. Brian Schmidt is chairman of the JDC.
This year, the key difference in the debate series is that the debate on the economy is now going to be a team debate. Now people ask, why was this change made? And what we have found from our polling is that the economy debate always has the lowest viewership and listenership. Now our objective is to get as many people involved in the process.
For now,
the political parties and the JDC have agreed to a meeting that we're going to just hash out the final details, finalize the dates of the debate and everything. And so the public can stand by to hear an announcement from us soon to know when the dates will be and let the debates begin.
Amoy Harriet reporting for CVM News.
The People's National Party PNP says it will be tough on corrupt politicians should it form the next government. Persons in the diaspora are also being promised a representative in the Senate. The PNP outlined those and a range of other promises last evening during its manifesto launch. Now, our reporter Dwayne Anderson was there and filed this report.
PNP officials and supporters traded the carnival-like scene of the campaign trail for a business atmosphere on Tuesday evening. Their manifesto, launched under an 11-point plan, was titled Mission Jamaica Love. It promised a lot to Jamaicans should the PNP form the next government, with particular focus on anti-corruption.
We must restore and will restore the office of the political ombudsman as an independent watchdog. We must ensure the independence and effectiveness of the Integrity Commission to enable it to pursue its statutory mandate without fear or favor, including desirable improvements such as the modification of the so-called gag clause. I've said in the coming elections, there will be candidates who are under investigation for illicit enrichment, and the voters will not know who they are other than one.
Special plans too for areas such as agriculture, housing, land reform, education and culture.
You heard our manifesto in Patois? Well, we will recognize the Jamaican language as an essential part of our Jamaican identity. We shall protect historically marginalized groups, particularly people of African descent, through a national ban on hair discrimination. We shall have a discussion and consider fixed election dates and term limits, and this is no idle promise. And to those of you who are not here but are listening, we shall expand the Senate to broaden representation to include the diaspora, persons with disabilities, and the Rastafari and Maroon communities.
An audio version of the PNP's manifesto will be available in Patois. The PNP leadership explained a second portion of the manifesto will be provided after the JLP's manifesto is made public, given what they say is a practice by the JLP to use their ideas. Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
As the general election approaches, many of the nation's youths are still undecided about voting. The National Youth Council of Jamaica, however, believes there is still enough time to create a shift in the minds of young voters. Details in this report.
With just over 2 weeks to go for the general election, the National Youth Council of Jamaica is of the view that if younger voters can see radical changes, this could sway them to take part in the electoral process. The recently conducted RGR Gleaner Don Anderson polls revealed that the trend across polls showed younger voters were mostly undecided.
There is political rhetoric and political bantering that happens in Parliament, and we hear the announcement. But how many of us are seeing that effect happening and changing our day-to-day lives? So we're not seeing any major change that can affect us immediately, and unfortunately this is a generation of immediacy. We want to hear and see something and go out in the road the next day and see change, and because we're not able to see that, we don't have an appreciation of the range of effects that will cause the flood of change.
We are in an innovation region era, right, channeling from the information era, and we are still in the era where in Jamaica 2025 where Alexander Bustamante was elected in 1962 through a political process that is outdated today. And we are still having a political process now being dominant. And what the young people want is us to use innovation for them to be able to be interested in the process.
They have also commented on the release of the PNP's manifesto, as well as promises coming out of the JLP's mass rally Sunday night.
Am I hearing, yes, enough to draw the younger population, not necessarily in a ubiquitous way to have a lot of people come in, but you do hear the efforts. And I must commend the political parties. They are showing signs that says to us that they are listening and they are keen on the youth vote, right? But in terms of a blanket statement to say, young people can get this, everybody, I don't think we have that thirst.
Not many persons are sorted with the change. Yes, there's something called change management.
Yes.
Right? And whenever we are supposed to make some changes that may be risky,
yes,
we realize that we are hesitant. Yes, and I believe that how it stands, because of the progress that we have seen in the changes that's supposed to be happening, I don't believe that we are readily adapting to the change, that we are readily moving toward the changes. Yeah. So it gives me an idea, or gives me the perception that there's an issue, a barrier in change management in our country.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the National Youth Council believes the Jamaica Debate Commission should consider revamping the debate process.
The Minister of Youth and the opposition spokesperson on youth would love to hear from them. I think it would be a good strategic move to put them on. It's not necessarily one of the persons who normally goes for debates.
Right.
You think about finance, you think about maybe local government and stuff. But the Minister of Youth, you see, Neville, we need a country that is deliberate about preparing for the future. And it's not only about having more babies. Yeah. It's about what the future will look like and sound like and feel like.
Nakinski Robinson, TVJ News.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is pushing back at critics after being ridiculed for attending ribbon-cutting ceremonies for public sanitary facilities. After more than a decade, residents of Junction in St. Elizabeth now have a public sanitary facility. The amenity was officially launched on Thursday. During the ribbon-cutting ceremony, a fiery local government minister Desmond McKenzie used the occasion to hit back at critics.
In every major capital and towns in the world, the city municipality provides these kinds of accommodation for the general public. It is a part of the mandate of local government to provide public sanitary facilities right across the various towns. So this is not something new.
Mr. McKenzie described the backlash as disingenuous.
It is disingenuous of them to raise this issue, because last year when I spoke in Parliament, the government of Dr. Andrew Holness last year provided over $200 million that was spent on upgrading, repairing public sanitary facilities across the country, especially in our markets.
He is also dismissing criticism that the opening is an attempt to sway voters ahead of the next general election.
We must have some civic pride in ourselves. As a people, we should never be critical of anything that the general public, regardless of which party you support, because when nature calls it, don't know politics.